Okay, tonight I'm going to make a chili seasoned pork. Okay, and I'm going to use this to make pork tacos with, or a filling you can use for tacos or use it for burritos, whatever you want. Now, these are dried chilies. Now, I've used three different kinds here. This is chipotle, a pasilla, and New Mexico red. Now, you can buy these types of chilies from mail order supply houses. I actually bought these at the London Borough Market. There's a stall over there that sells Mexican herbs and stuff. Okay, so what you do is you take, I've used one chipotle chili, one pasilla, and 3 of the New Mexico reds. And that gives you a variety of heat scales. Now these are dried chilies. Okay, you have to cut the tops off, slice the chilies open, remove all the seeds from them, and then you put them in a bowl like this, and you pour hot water over them. And you let it sit for about a half an hour, and you constantly mix it to make sure that the chilies are going to soften up. Okay, and while you're doing that, you'll need to brown some garlic. Now, I've just left the skins on those, on the garlic cloves. Put them in a frying pan, dry frying pan, and you just slowly heat them over the stove. You'll see them skins will start to turn black, and that's fine. That's what you want. It'll give you a kind of a buttery texture to your garlic. So I'm going to use about 5 cloves there, and half of a white onion, and a couple bay leaves. And I've also got a can of plum tomatoes. Now these are already peeled. You can use chopped tomatoes if you like. You can use fresh tomatoes. If you use fresh tomatoes, you should roast them first. Remove the skin. Okay. We have some cider vinegar. We have dried marjoram, dried thyme, dried oregano, ground allspice, and ground cloves. Now we're going to mix about 1/3 of a teaspoon of the marjoram, 1/3 of a teaspoon of the thyme, and 1/3 of a teaspoon of the oregano together. I'm going to put them in a mortar and pestle, and I'm going to grind those 3 together. So we end up with about a teaspoon of mixed herbs. Okay, you're also going to end up adding about 1/4 of a teaspoon of the ground allspice, and just a pinch of the cloves. Alright, when we start mixing this up, we're going to put it all in a blender, and we're going to end up blending this all together. And once we have that all blended, we're going to cook it. Now, I've used lard in here, about 1.5 tablespoons of lard for the flavoring. But if you want to be more health conscious, you can use vegetable oil. I don't recommend using olive oil. You can use a pure vegetable oil in that. About the same thing, about 1.5 tablespoons. This is going to saute this chili mixture you're going to make. Okay, I've processed the tomatoes along with 2 tablespoons of the cider vinegar, 1 teaspoon of the mixed herbs. That's the oregano, thyme, and marjoram. And I've also added the 5 cloves of garlic to that, and a half an onion, 2 bay leaves, and a can of tomatoes. Now, I processed all that and made a little paste out of it. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the chilies to this and process it. Okay, I've processed the chilies with the tomato, and you'll see now it's a lot darker in color now. Now, one of the things with this recipe, most of the time when you're using dried chilies, before you rehydrate them, you actually split them open, remove the seeds, and cook them on a griddle or a cast iron skillet on high heat. Now, this recipe doesn't require that to be done. If you want to do that, that's fine. It helps soften the chilies up a little bit more. It gives you a little bit more flavor to it. So you would heat your chilies, open them up, flatten them out, put them in the hot pan. They'll start to pop and sizzle. When it does, flip them over. Do the same thing on the opposite side. Remove them, put them in the bowl, and rehydrate them with hot water for about a half an hour. Okay? So now we're going to go ahead and start cooking this down, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I've melted this lard in my frying pan, and I'm going to add this chili mixture to it. Now, be very careful when you do this because it's probably going to splatter. You want to let this cook slow for probably 20 minutes to half an hour so it starts to thicken up a lot. If it keeps splattering, just move it to a smaller burner and turn the heat down lower. Okay, I've got the chili mixture in the frying pan, and I'm letting it cook down. Now what you're going to do, you're going to let this thicken up. Basically, you're going to get all the water out of it. It's going to thicken up into a paste. And that's what you want to coat your pork chops, or use this, like I say, on a pork roast. Whichever you want. I'm going to use this for pork chops, and I'll coat the pork chops with it and put them in the oven at 160 degrees. Slow cook them for a couple hours. Okay, I put the pork chops, laid them out in the baking dish here, and I've coated them with the chili sauce, and I'm going to put those in the oven and let them bake for a while, and then I'll turn them over and put them on the other side and let them put some more sauce on the other side and let that bake as well. Okay, these have been in the oven for about 45 minutes now. I'm going to go ahead and turn these over and coat them with the chili on the other side. Put them back in the oven for about a half an hour, and then I'm going to seal them up and let them finish cooking at low heat for about another hour. Okay, after about 2 hours in the oven, this is what you're going to end up with. Okay, and it's all coated up, and you see it breaks up really easy. Now you use this for your filling for your burritos or tacos, or you can just eat it like this, along with some rice, some black beans. Chop it up like this. You can put it back in the chili sauce, let it absorb some of the flavor from the cooking sauce that's left over, and then serve it up. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy. Alright, this is what your pork looks like. It's just finished cooking, and I've shredded it up. I've added a little bit of the sauce back to it. Make it a little bit moist. Now I'm serving it as a burrito. So I've got the roast pork there with some rice and some black beans. And you can add lettuce and tomatoes, cheese to it. Now I usually use Monterey Jack cheese. In the UK, it's really hard to find, so you can substitute a Wensleydale type of a cheese, and it has about the same texture as Monterey Jack. Finish it up with your any kind of sauce you want, salsa. Throw some sour cream on it. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy.